Hi there, I'm Frederick Van Johnson. I'm sitting here with Mr. Aaron Hockley. He's a photographer, whom I've had on This Week in Photo before, but today we're in San Francisco. We're going to be talking about how software like OmniFocus and other productivity things you can sort of use them to incorporate them into your life and into your business specifically from a photographer standpoint to get things organized and so you can stop forgetting to bring that one lens so you can remember to tweet about a shoot, all that stuff. So Aaron, welcome.
Thank you, Frederick. Glad to be chatting with you today.
It's good to be chatting with you. And like we were talking about before, this is day one of Macworld.
It is.
However, you're not going to Macworld.
I'm not planning on it. I could get drawn in as I walk past Moscone West.
Get sucked into the vortex.
I'm here in town for some other related events, actually some stuff related to OmniFocus.
Yeah.
And to meet with a couple people. But yeah, there's a lot of Mac nerdery going on in San Francisco right now, even more than normal.
You can feel the reality distortion field in the air a
Definitely.
little bit. So let's talk about OmniFocus. First of all, what is OmniFocus and why should people care?
So OmniFocus is a set of software applications. There's a Mac version, an iPad version, and an iPhone version that provide productivity help. They're essentially a to-do list manager, a task manager, a project manager, and it's based on the principles of David Allen's Getting Things Done system.
Yeah, GTD.
GTD,
yeah.
Which has been around now for several years. I don't know when that book originally came out. It was probably about 10 years ago, which seems like a long time ago when I say it that
seems
way,
like it seems like it just came out a couple minutes ago because I remember reading that book because there was GTD and then there was Beyond GTD
right.
And the basic thing that I took out of that which was kind of liberating was the idea of taking all this crap, for lack of a better word, that's floating around in your head, all the to-dos, and I got to do this, and I got to remember this, and here's some stickies on the refrigerator, and some notes next to my computer, and you take all that and you dump it into one place,
right,
and set a system to sort of IV drip feed it out to you as necessary.
Right, yeah, and the principles and process that David Allen talks about in his book, which is a great read for anybody who's involved with any sort of business or anything like that, whether you're self-employed or work for somebody else. Those principles, they're not tool specific, right?
No.
So we're going to talk about OmniFocus, which is a software package that will help you implement those principles. But other people do it successfully with a paper day planner or with a set of index cards or with other software. And so OmniFocus is based on those principles. And like you said, it helps me as somebody who is a photographer and does some other work and has a family and kids and hobbies. It helps me keep track of all of the things that I need to do. And from a photography perspective, it helps me be more organized. It helps me, be more prepared for the shoots that I do, and it helps me better maintain my photography business.
So, when I talk to people, and I don't use it as much as you have. I have all the applications, but I'm probably one of those people that downloaded it and I was just like, okay, this is too much. I know there's a lot of power there, and it's, I have the iPhone app and all this stuff. I know what it can do. I'm familiar. But when I look at it, I'm like, I'm just going to make a list. I'm just going to make a list. And I ended up using, and I keep oscillating around, right? ADD. But what I ended up using was just Evernote. Because it's on my Mac, it's on my phones, it's on my iPad, it's on the web if I need it.
Right.
But it's not purpose built for to-do lists. So
right.
why? So talk to me why. And just to set the stage here, you don't work for Omni or any of those guys.
I have no
You're just a user.
affiliation with them at all.
Yeah. So which just makes this a much more valuable conversation than if you did. So that said, why would somebody like me that's dumping everything into Evernote and it's working like that, how would somebody like me, why would somebody like me care about something more structured like an OmniFocus?
There's a couple advantages, and Evernote's Evernote's not a bad option. I mean, you mentioned all of the different places that you have Evernote, meaning that probably no matter where you're at or what you're doing, you have access to that Evernote system, which that's one of the big things that's important with GTD is that at any point, if you think of something, you can capture it and get it into that system. So that's great.
Yep.
Where OmniFocus is more specifically designed around GTD and for those types of tasks, there's a couple different areas. So one is the concept of contexts, which is one of the concepts out of Getting Things Done. And a context is that you have a lot of things to do, but you can't necessarily do them all at any given point. So if you need to, write up an invoice, you probably need to be at your computer. If you need to mow the lawn, you need to be at your house.
Right.
So if you're on an airplane, having mow the lawn on your to-do list really isn't very helpful. It's just clutter that doesn't mean anything to you.
Or if I'm in my car and I'm commuting, I could probably get some calls done.
Right, yeah. So a context might be something like at my computer or at a phone or, you know, something like that. And so
at work.
at work,
driving or at the mall. Or,
right, yeah. I mean, if you know, your shopping list, you know, if you think of something, oh, next time that I'm at Costco, I need to pick up X, you can put that on a list that you're going to look at when you go to Costco, but you don't have, it's not going to clutter anything else up in the meantime. And so contexts are one type of thing that, you know, when you start viewing your tasks in OmniFocus, you can have that broken down by context so that, you know, as I flew down to San Francisco this morning, for example, there were a few things that I wanted to get done on the plane, and that wasn't going to show me things that I needed to do, you know, on the phone with somebody or while I was necessarily connected to the internet. These were things that I could do offline.
So your to-do list kind of changes based on where you are. So it says, oh, okay, you're on a plane now, so you could probably write a blog post or edit a photo or something like that, whereas when you land or you go back home and you're sitting in your home office, then you can do invoicing and that kind of thing. So I know OmniFocus has the capacity or the capability to do location-aware contexts. Like, so you're at the mall, so remind me next time I get to Safeway or whatever grocery store that you shop at to tell me, you know, to show my shopping list. So do you use that?
That's a feature that that I don't use very much. It's one of those things that I think for the right person could be very powerful. If I did, you know, in my household, I don't do a lot of the household shopping. My wife takes care of that. And so, you know, the likelihood for me to need to pick something up while I'm at a certain store isn't as great as, you know, other people. On the other hand, if you're the one who does that and you do a lot of local shopping, having it be able to tell you that is very useful. So you actually, you know, much like we geotag our photos to indicate where they're taken, you can geotag a to-do item to say this to-do item needs to happen when I'm in the vicinity of this other place. And so that is one powerful thing. The other concept that OmniFocus has that I don't know that something like Evernote or, you know, even just a text file or something like that would have is the concept of the fact that some of your tasks you can kind of do at any time, and some of them need to be done in a certain order. So if I'm getting ready for a photo shoot, I need to you know, prepare a contract for the client. I need to send them an invoice. At some point, you know, shortly before the shoot, I need to, you know, identify what gear I'm going to need. Am I going to need to rent any gear? Ultimately, I need to pack all that gear and get it into my car. And so OmniFocus can break down your tasks that, you know, when you put them into a project, you can say, these need to run in sequence. And so if the first thing in that sequence is that you're going to prepare, you know, your contract and your invoice, it's just going to show you that item as the next action, the next item that's available to do. And it won't let you get to the next one until you won't even, you can set up so you don't even see the other stuff.
I like that. I like that.
And so
the drip feed, IV drip of things to do.
Kind of, right. You know, the idea is, you know, what can I do right now, and in what order should I do it in? You know,
and those are repeatable playlists. So that's a. Because when I think of to-do lists, I think of, okay, I've done, and it's gone forever. So those kinds of to-do lists they live on forever, and you just activate them whenever you need.
They can, yeah. It's kind of interesting. You can almost set up a template, and this isn't a feature that's natively supported by OmniFocus out of the box, but because the program supports a lot of like Apple script capabilities, some people who are very tech savvy and smarter than me have written some neat scripts that you can add in. You just download them and add into OmniFocus to create some of these templates. I have a template for doing a headshot photo shoot, and it includes everything from, you know, that initial contract and invoice with the client, getting ready, packing my gear, doing the shoot, doing the post-processing, and delivering the photos to the client. And so when I get a new client, I create a new version of that project for that specific client. And then I have that set of tasks ready to go. And then when somebody else calls me up and I'm going to do another set of headshots, I create a new version of that project for that client, and I have that same set of tasks to go.
Can you do nested tasks? Like, for example, because as you were thinking, my brain was like, oh, you could probably use that. So you have a set of sequential tasks for a headshot, like, you know, like you're just saying. So these are the things that I do when I book a headshot. But can that that sequential to-do list live inside of another to-do list. So in the grand scheme of, I don't know, this is what happens in a week of shooting. You know, one of the things that I have to do is do a headshot shoot. Can you make it that complex? Or is that getting too programmatic about your life?
You might be able to. I'm not sure.
I wouldn't do it because that's like, it seems like it would be more work to maintain that than actually do the shoot.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a lot of work, and I'm not sure it would help me out all that much. Yeah. And so, you know, so that's where something like OmniFocus is really helpful for those client interactions, but I also find it very useful for just kind of the ongoing business things that I need to do.
You know what I would use it for? One of the things, speaking of traveling, because you had to pack to come down here, when I pack, I feel like I'm always doing the same things over and over and forgetting the same things. Sometimes I forget the deodorant or the toothbrush or the toothpaste or the brush. I always forget one thing, you know?
I have a packing list template in OmniFocus, and it's basically broken down into major sections, you know, one for, you know, basically clothing and personal stuff, one for, you know, camera gear, and one for computer gear, because depending on where I'm going, I'm usually bringing some of all of that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like for my San Francisco trip to come down here, when I knew that I was going to do that, I created a new San Francisco packing list. And over the last couple days, as I've gotten stuff ready, I've checked items off that list, and
love that. Yeah, I want something like that that's really, really smart. Maybe it's not OmniFocus, maybe it's something else, but I want something that I could say, okay, I'm going to New York for a week, and you know, there may be a dinner or two involved, and I'm going there for a conference. And then I wanted to do everything else for me. Tell me what to pack, what piece of luggage, so they'll know the luggage that I have. What pieces of luggage to bring, the computer config that I should bring. So yeah, you should probably bring a charger, but if it's just overnight, just charge your computer. You know, you know, that kind of thing. So I want something that smart that would, at the end of it, would dump out this is your trip. Get all this stuff together, and you can forget about it.
I don't think it's quite there yet, but
it might be an opportunity for an app.
It's getting close, but it's you know, so
cool. All right, so you operate a blog and a website and all that stuff. If people, and you're blogging about this kind of stuff from time to time, right?
Yeah, I actually just wrote a post about OmniFocus for photographers recently, so folks can check that out.
Where is that?
The best place to find my writings for photographers is a site called Splat Photo.
Splat Photo.
Splatphoto.com.
Should I ask?
And there's really nothing too crazy behind it.
It was available.
Part of it was that it was a short domain name that was available. Part of it is a play on, in computer programming, and I have a tech background, is that the asterisk, often called the splat, is kind of a wildcard symbol that kind of means anything, and so there's a play on it there. But go to splatphoto.com. I talk about business ideas. I talk about apps and services.
Wonderful.
I occasionally review some gear and some products, and
excellent.
Folks can get hold of me.
All right. Well, Splat Photo. Thank you, sir.
Glad to chat.
Have a good conference in wherever that is. So Omni, you're going to an Omni event.
I'm going to. So we're recording this on January 31st.
Yes.
OmniFocus 2, the second major version of the Mac app, is being debuted this evening. And so by the time folks watch this video, there will probably be a lot of information on the web, probably including at Splat Photo, about what OmniFocus 2 is.
Excellent.
And so that event is this evening. I'm going to be there. Should be fun.
Okay, and maybe you'll even embed this YouTube video in the blog post.
We could do that.
You're right.
We could do that.
I'm just begging here. Anyway, all right, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you.